There we go. Okay, so again, this is kind of just like a workshop, just so we can kind of an orientation to kind of orient you into your new role as treasurer. You've already done a little bit of your position so far with trying to set up the bank account and coordinating with us to get the EIN number and everything like that. So awesome job there. So kind of your general duties, and again, this might be a refresher, but you're responsible for the accurate recording and reporting of all chapter financial activity. So in the fall, you're going to be doing a lot with local dues and all of that reporting, because you'll have the bank account set up, and then you'll be preparing the prospective new chapter budget, and then you're also going to be kind of like planning the new chapter fundraisers. So for you all to be like an official active chapter, a part of that requirement is planning two fundraisers, and each member is required to do one, but you guys will have to plan those. And then chairing the fundraising committee. How many people are on your fundraising committee?
So not many people wanted to be on the fundraising committee. I don't know why. We're gonna have so much fun.
It's fun. Great.
We had 2 people sign up for the fundraising committee. One of them didn't even come to our last meeting, so that was kind of sad, but we're working on it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I feel like that's all. I was fundraising chair, so like I totally get you. Like not a lot of people sign up for fundraising, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm glad you at least have some people on your committee, because it'll be helpful for you to like not just, not for it to not just be you. So another part of your position is making sure that people pay their local dues and any other fees. So local dues, you all haven't paid them yet. You're this summer, you're going to be deciding how much they are. And then by August 1st, everyone's going to know how much they are. And then you're going to oversee the chapter bank account, and then remind members of national and local dues deadline. So you guys won't have to do national dues this semester. You already paid the expansions fee, so that includes that. But in spring of 2023, you'll pay both local and national dues. And then make weekly deposits of all the monies collected. This, with OPA portal, you're going to be doing a lot of the transactions online. So you shouldn't really have to collect much money. I don't even know what you would collect, maybe like one check or something. But all of that should be done online, so you won't have to do that. So that's kind of like the general duties. Did you have any like other questions about that or any clarification there?
I think the only thing that I guess I was still needing some clarification on is, I guess, setting up the bank account, because we haven't gotten much information about that yet.
We'll cover that.
Okay, sounds good.
It's a great question.
Well, right here, setting up the bank account. So, and then this is the paperwork. So just with any chapter, there's paperwork to be done. And so this is kind of like the paperwork that you own. So the new chapter budget form. So I'm pretty sure that's in OPA portal. And there's, we have kind of like a template for you for that. And then fundraiser participation. So just tracking I think you guys have like 20 members now. So just tracking like, okay, Avery participated in this fundraiser. So just tracking that. And then if there's ever someone who can't make a fundraiser, you should be the one that gets an email from them. They shouldn't like put that in a group me saying they can't attend. They should contact you about that. That goes with any position. If someone's planning the event, that's who they should be contacting. So they should reach out to you. And then the fundraiser evaluation form. So this form will be filled out once a fundraiser is complete. And you can do that on OPA portal. And we have some like links down here where you can kind of see like how to track events in OPA portal. But I'll pass it off to Alyssa. She's our managing director. She is awesome. And she's gonna talk you through setting up a bank account for your chapter.
Yeah, thanks, Corey. Yeah, so let's talk about the bank account. So Omega Phi Alpha is a 501c4 organization. And what this means is that we're a membership nonprofit, but we do not have 501c3 status, which is, like tax deductible nonprofit, because we are a membership based nonprofit. We're classified as 501c4. And because we are 501c4, we have subordinates. All of our chapters are the subordinates of our organization. And for a long time, chapters use the national organization's EIN to set up bank accounts. And at some point it was like, this doesn't really work. So every chapter has to have their own EIN. And they complete that form, IRS form SS4, which you all completed. I filled out the parts that needed to be filled out. You filled out the rest. So thank you for that. So an EIN takes the place of a social security number. As you probably know, when you used to have to set up a bank account, you have to have some like identifying information, like a social security number or an EIN. So we want to make sure that our members are protected and are not using their social security numbers to set up a bank account for the sorority. So we want to help you establish this EIN. It takes about 4 weeks. When it's done by mail, but if you do it online, you have to enter your social security number. So by mail is like what we feel most comfortable with, because we're not collecting anyone's social security information. We don't have to provide ours, and it's all done that way. So we've listed that you're a subordinate organization of Omega Phi Alpha, therefore we have to file taxes. So this is done, but the EIN hasn't come in yet. As soon as it comes in, I'll let Corey and Summer know, and they can share the EIN with you. I can't remember. You're with Auburn, I assume, right? Yeah. I can't remember like when I got that one, but I mailed everything off like within a day or two of getting it. So maybe it's been 2 weeks. So yeah, as soon as we have the EIN, we'll give it to you. And so you'll be able to choose a bank. So you want to think about like how available is the bank to especially students, because that's who's going to continue to be the treasurer in the future. You also want to consider like, are there branches elsewhere in case you need to access it elsewhere? What fees do they charge? Do they have like a nonprofit checking account that is eligible for 501c4s? And then they won't charge you fees. Usually there are no fees or less fees associated with a not-for-profit checking account. So I would definitely ask about that when you pick a bank, like what are the requirements for a not-for-profit checking account? Otherwise, you can set it up as a business checking account. I think probably 80% of our chapters have it set up as a business. The others are not for profit. I would say the majority of our chapters bank with Wells Fargo. I personally have no opinion and do not care. I will say that it has been harder for us to deal with Truist of any of the banks. Like that has been the most complicated. And a lot of our chapters bank with PNC, or several with PNC. I would say the most with Wells Fargo. As a national organization, we bank with Bank of America. So, and we used to bank with Truist and we switched to Bank of America, and we have a good experience with that. So you can pick, again, a national bank is better. And I'm pretty sure Auburn doesn't require on-campus banking, because previously we had a national bank account. I think it was with Truist. So, because I had to close it down. So in terms of setting up a bank account, there should always be 2 signers on the bank account. Oh, I should back up. You're probably going to require some amount of money to open said bank account. Usually it's like $100. Sometimes it's just $10, but I would say most often it's $100. So whomever can float the $100 to open the bank account, if you open this before you collect dues, I think is like you'll get paid back from the chapter when you collect dues, or that could be your dues. Like if you guys decide dues are $75 and you pay the $75 to open the bank account, like you've paid your dues.
Mhm.
If that makes sense. That's how we've done it in the past, is like, oh, well, this person has $100 to open the account. We're just going to count that as their dues. Or we've reimbursed them. There should always be 2 signers on the bank account. So usually this is the treasurer and the president, and we have to be really diligent about changing those if anything were to happen. Typically there is a debit card. Sometimes there are 2 debit cards, one for the president, one for the treasurer. I would recommend just having 1 debit card. It's usually in the name of the treasurer, and you are responsible for any activity associated. So you should keep this in mind, because someday you won't be the treasurer anymore, and you should cancel your debit card. So you shouldn't give it to anyone else. You should like actually call and cancel the debit card, and then the next treasurer will have to get a new debit card in their name. So we just want to avoid like the passing around of debit card numbers, which can get us in trouble.
Mhm.
Yeah, there should definitely be a rule set on the bank account that no cash can be withdrawn. We just want to make sure that no cash can be withdrawn at any time. If for some reason there is like a need, your chapter recognizes a need for having cash. I don't think any of our chapters have a need for cash, but in case that happens, you could change this, but you would want to set a daily cash withdrawal limit, which usually is $100. All right. So any questions about setting up the bank and what you need to know for like bank privileges, debit cards, all of that?
I don't think so. I think that covers everything I was wondering.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So as soon as we get you the EIN, then you'll be good to go on that front. So creating a budget is really, really, really important, especially as a new chapter. It's really important to set that baseline and be as specific as possible, break expenses down into specific categories. So when you're moving forward, it's super clear. It's easy to track your expenses back to the categories. There's 2 main ways that chapters do budgets. One of them you see here is by officer. I think this is the easiest way to start out budgeting. So I would definitely recommend that you all create a budget based on this semester. I will say there are a couple of other chapters that do it a little differently, that do like administration, operations, recruitment, retention, and service, like do them in different categories. We are going to have a full organization officer training August 5th and 6th. And we're going to talk about the different types of budgets at that meeting. So if in the future you were to feel like that would be a better avenue for you to take with your budget. But for now, I definitely recommend doing it like you see on the screen here, which is doing it by officer. So usually there's like a president budget too, but that's okay. I think this covers almost everything. So a sisterhood budget might cover like the big little reveal. That also might be in the membership director budget. Birthdays, yeah, some chapters do like little cards or gifts for members on their birthday. Sometimes it's just a card, and so like part of that budget is just buying the cards and making sure it could be postage that you need to mail them, or just the cards to hand them out. The membership budget should include all of recruitment. So decor, supplies, food. It should include pins for the new member ceremony, which we send. Yeah, and then it might include the big little event. I think it just depends on what you're doing here, like how much you're doing for that. And then the service budget. So sometimes people say, well, what in the world am I budgeting for? Like service is free. So some ideas are like specific service projects that you're doing. So some of our chapters do like care kits that they pass out to the homeless. So your chapter's service budget could pay for the supplies needed to make those kits. And then the service project is assembling and passing out the kits. Some of our chapters make like little dog toys out of like fabric scraps or old t-shirts. Maybe you need to like go to Goodwill and buy a bunch of old t-shirts, like that should be included. Recently, a chapter told me about a service expense they have as they volunteered at their local Ronald McDonald House Charities, and you can cook meals there, and they would buy everything for their meal and go cook the meal. And they also said they would get games, like they would buy new games and take them to Ronald McDonald House and leave them there. So things like that. Maybe there's like a awareness event that you want to have, and you want to have like materials to pass out for the awareness event. That would be included in the service budget. Sometimes we like have an awareness event and we raise money for the organization that we're raising awareness of. So like you could also factor in making a donation to that organization. I think there are IRS limits on like how much you can donate to an organization. I think it's $2,000 or $2,500. So that's amazing if you get to that point. But for anything lower than that, you can make the donation. You should keep track of who you're donating it to for your annual report, which we'll talk about. And then the treasurer budget, you might have like a little receipt book. If you have anyone pay you in cash, well, I hope no one pays you in cash, but if anyone ever pays you in cash, please, please, please write them a receipt. So a receipt book should have like a, a carbon copy. So you hand them a copy and then you have a copy. Please write a receipt. This includes dues, t-shirt sales, anything. If you're sending anything out via mail, you might need postage. Yeah, the secretary might have like printing that they want to do, like agendas for meetings. Maybe having to pay for like Constant Contact or MailChimp or something to send a newsletter. You can also send newsletters, I think, on OPA portal. And then a VP might budget for like a formal event, postage, printing costs also. So a president budget might include a chapter officer retreat, like an executive board retreat, or it might include, really, I think that's the main thing that I recently thought about was a chapter officer retreat or any other like specific supplies. Somewhere in your budget, you will need to budget for like candles and yellow roses for your members. Like yellow roses would probably come from the secretary budget. A lot of chapters like tape them to pins and have them in a jar, so people just grab a pin with a yellow rose when they come into meetings. You might have a storage unit, and so even if it's just like a little storage that you have to pay for on campus, or whether it's a little storage unit off campus, I would put that under the president's budget. Yeah, some other things to consider is like Canva or another like PicMonkey or whatever it's called for like designing things for social media. We use Canva and we have templates that we share in Canva, so I would recommend that. Then publicity and advertisement, like if you're paying for like Instagram or Facebook ads to promote, I would put that under membership budget. And yeah, you should always have money set aside to attend national convention. I would put that under the VP budget if that were me. So local dues really should be based on the budget, especially as a new chapter. We really encourage new chapters to have a zero-based budget. The national organization uses a zero-based budget, and so we encourage you to do this as well. So obviously what this means is that your expenses are never more than your revenue. So at the end of every cycle, which would be a semester, when you close out your account, you have zero, like your expenses and revenue even, or you have more revenue than expenses, never budgeting for more expenses than revenue. So since you're starting fresh, you'll write this budget up. You can talk to all the officers and determine like, what are we going to spend money on? How much is each of these things going to cost? And then you can determine your local dues based on the number of members that you currently have and that you anticipate, or the goal that you set for yourself that you'll have in the fall. You can change your dues at any time. So through your local constitution, national, active, and new member dues are $75 a semester. They're paid via OPA portal. You can also use OPA portal with your chapter bank account and have your members pay their dues and any other fees on OPA portal. All new members pay an activation fee. So when you guys have your first recruitment class, your alpha new member class, they will have to pay a $75 new member dues, and then when they're activated, they pay $50 activation fee. And that's not changing for the next 2 years. So it'll stay $75 for dues and $50 for activation fees. So it's just really, really, really important to be intentional and thoughtful when you're setting your local dues, because we want to make sure they're not set at like an astronomical rate that is going to turn people away. I can share, like, I'm happy to share that I think the highest chapter dues that are collected are $240. I do not recommend that. The like median local dues for all of our chapters is $118. So that might give you an idea. The lowest is $10, but that chapter has worked really, really hard to like build up their savings so that they can only collect $10. So you won't be able to function with $10 when you're getting started. I think most of our like recent new chapters, their dues are $100. I'm just looking at the list. So yeah, most of them are around $100, the chapters that have activated in the past few years. Some of them it's a little higher, like $200. Again, like you will need to prepare this as the treasurer and present this to the members of the organization to get them to approve a fee. So you'll want to make a case for what you're collecting. And it's per semester, so you'll want to remember that too. You'll make an annual budget for the full academic year. And so, if you need $100 per member for the year, you can collect $50 per semester. So you can collect them on OPA portal. As I said, I would highly recommend that because it's super easy. It's easy to track. It deposits to your bank account automatically every night. So you don't have to worry about like any deposits you have to make. Please do not collect dues via Venmo. You can use Zelle attached to your account. If you use Bank of America, they let business bank accounts use Zelle. So we feel that Zelle is a safe way to transfer money. So if you want to do that, that's great. Okay, any questions about budget or dues before I move on to financial reporting?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, good. I hope that means we're covering everything. So there are financial reports that a treasurer is expected to make. I expect that chapters, this is like not what every chapter does. So your chapter will have to find the norm for you. But I would expect that at least once a month, a chapter treasurer is reporting information about the bank balance and budget in a chapter meeting. At least once a month. I would say like every week when you're doing officer reports in your meetings, your officer report could be like the current bank account balance and like what the budget looks like. Like we're coming up on this service project, we have a budget for that, we're going to spend XYZ. Like that could be your report as the treasurer. You should upload all bank statements, and this is like official bank statements, not a screenshot of your bank account balance, like logging into the bank account, downloading the PDF of the bank statement, and then uploading it to like a shared finances drive that all chapter officers can see. And again, we should make this available to members so that they can view the financial activity. This is the only way to like hold you as the treasurer accountable and hold the chapter accountable financially is to prepare treasurer reports and share the bank statements. So in Omega Phi Alpha as a national organization, the members of the organization, both collegiate and alumni members, hold the national organization accountable to our budget and our finances. So like we report at convention, we'll report all of our financial activity over the past fiscal year, which is July 1st to June 30th. So And I provide financial reports to chapters as they ask for them, and the board of directors reviews them like every other month. So again, transparency is really, really, really important. And people really like to know what they're paying for. They like to know where their money is going. So I shared the part about treasury reports already. And then we do have an annual financial report. So this is a requirement of being a subordinate organization of Omega Phi Alpha as bigger organization with the IRS. We have to file an annual financial report. It's called the IRS Form 990, and we fill it out on behalf of our chapters. There's the alternative is that we would have to have our chapters fill out this like official IRS document. And so instead of doing that, we ask you to submit information to us by July 15th. And then we use that information to fill out the 990 on your behalf. So this is currently has changed. And it used to be a form that you submitted on OPA portal. Now it's like a form. There's a website for the form, and you just go to the website and you fill out all the information on the form. So it's like way more straightforward. You don't have to use an Excel spreadsheet and track all this stuff. You just fill out a form. So yeah, the annual financial report is the fiscal year activity. So it seems like at this point, maybe you won't be able to set up a bank account until after July 1st, which is fine. And so next July, you would report your activity or financial activity. So any questions about reports or annual financial report?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Awesome. I'll take it over from here. Thank you, Alyssa. Okay, so as you know, part of the as your responsibility as treasurer is planning 2 fundraisers. And so working with your committee, either during chapter or if you want to set up a meeting time, outside of chapter to talk through some different fundraiser ideas, that would be awesome. And then what you can do with your ideas, once you have like different ideas, you can have the chapter like vote on them, be like, here are my 5 ideas, which ones do you guys like? And then, whichever ones have the most votes, I guess you can go with. But so a prospective new chapter must complete 1 fundraising event, or wait, I don't think, yeah, they must complete 2 fundraising events. This is not a bullet. Okay. So they have to complete 1 fundraising event to help with convention costs, but convention this year, you don't have to worry about any costs for that. So don't worry. So that'll just go towards your chapter bank account. And then let's see, a prospective new chapter. Okay. Sorry, I just read that weird. Usually what happens is that you help provide some funds to some of the active delegates who go to convention, but this year it's a little bit different because you guys haven't set up the bank account yet or held fundraisers. So we're helping with some of those costs, but typically just know that, your guys' chapter, but the next convention will be in 2 years. So just know that. And then, but yeah, some of that fundraising can help with like, if there's a service event or, just different things like that. So it'd be nice in the budget also to include like projected fundraising, like have a goal in mind with how much you want to raise. And then, let's say your goal is $1,000 in fundraising. Probably not a Chipotle fundraiser will get you that much, but if you have, you might have to think of something else, but just kind of have an idea in your mind, like how much you want to raise for fundraising. And that's separate from local dues. And then in this document, there's different fundraising ideas. I won't go through them because you guys can talk through some ideas, but I'll send this document to you after. But yeah, there's just so many ideas that you can do for fundraising. So expectations for summer. So you will have things to, work on through the summer. So here's kind of like your checklist items. So complete the budget worksheet. and email it to Rachel, your chapter advisor, by July 15th. So you have about a month and 10 days to work on that. And that's I think that's in OPA portal. If not, it'll be in the shared drive for you. And then prospective new members should be advised by August 1st on how much their local dues will be, just so they're aware, maybe they need to save up $100. And then also just letting them know when they are due. So members have the option to set up like a payment plan. So if they can't pay, all the lump sum, they can set up different payments. So for the expansions fee, for some people, we split it up in half. So we said, by this date, you need to pay $37.50. And then 3 weeks later, you have to submit the other half. But just note that if a payment plan is set up, due should be paid by October 1st and then March 1st. So that's kind of like the harsh deadline. And then we also do dues waivers for local dues. So there are some kind of like informational how-to videos in OPA portal that you can look at. But Alyssa, can you kind of shed more information on like the dues waivers and stuff?
Yeah, so the national dues waivers are done on, the link is on OPA portal, and essentially it's a DocuSign form. So members who are requesting a dues waiver would submit the form, and the chapter executive board has to submit a recommendation, a favorable recommendation for them in order for them to be considered. So that information is on OPA portal. The forms are on OPA portal. Under files. And for local dues, we would typically say like your local dues, if you're going to grant local dues waivers, you have to have that done before the national dues waiver deadline, because people are not eligible for national dues waivers unless they have been granted a local dues waiver. So there's like a little bit of planning that you would have to do for dues waivers. To make sure for local dues waivers. Typically the process is like, it goes through the chapter standards board and it's set in your local constitution and bylaws. But yeah, I would say your local dues themselves don't have to be due before the national dues, but local dues waivers need to be determined before the national dues waiver deadline.
Okay.
Is that helpful?
Is this the national dues deadline, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's October 1st and March 1st. So that's right. Yeah, those are the national dues deadlines. And if members don't pay their national dues by those dates, there's now a $25 late fee that is assessed after that.
Okay.
It'll be automatically added. So all members have to log on to OPA portal to pay their national dues, which is why it's best just to set your local dues that way too, because they got to do that. But yeah, you can pick a due date. The reason they used to be due in September is because the chapters used to pay the national dues on behalf of their members. But since we don't do that anymore, you can pick whenever.
Perfect. Awesome. And then, so hopefully by the summer, you guys can complete one fundraising project. There's so many virtual ideas out there. So just get your brainstorming hats on. And then you guys can set up another one in the fall. But yeah, so our hope is, if Rachel should have shared kind of like when we're wanting to do chapter retreat dates and then the chapter induction. So by that chapter retreat date, that's kind of like the halfway point of your expansions process. That's when we'll want the at least one fundraising project done by then. So yeah, and then just making sure that the bank account is set up before you start to collect that money for fundraising. And hopefully we'll have that in a few weeks to you. But just kind of now, just keep thinking of ideas, and whenever you have your next OPA 101 thing, talk to your president, say, hey, I have some ideas for fundraising. Can I share them at the meeting? And then you guys can talk through that. And then also down here, I have some OPA portal videos, like how-to videos. I'm not going to play them now, but I linked them below so you can have access to them. It's just like if you want to add a fundraiser to OPA portal, and then whenever you like log attendance for those fundraisers, there's a how-to video with logging like previous fundraisers. And then there's also a video how to pay paying active dues and new member dues. So yeah. Do you have any more questions? That was kind of a lot, but we're happy to answer anything else.
I think y'all covered it. Thank you.
Perfect. And yeah, I think just talking, like whenever you guys have those exec meetings, just say like, hey, like, how much do you expect to, like, how much are you expecting to like pay for your position? Like, you know, what costs and stuff. So start having those conversations now. That way you have a, you know, a better picture. But yeah, awesome. Sweet. I'm gonna stop recording this. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming, Leah.